a playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host, Torry, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I am so glad you're here. I am currently on vacay, so you are getting an episode I recorded with the Old Millennials this past fall about 2000s makeup, when we were introduced to makeup, fond or not so fond memories of 2000s makeup. We do a lot of specific product call outs, aka the Dr. Pepper lip smackers that everyone was obsessed with. And it was a really fun episode. If you are reminiscing like I was, send me what your fave products were. I remember I had this big purple sparkly caboodles kit. I don't know if people remember what that is, but I had a big caboodles kit, all the lip smackers, and the caboodles glitter and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's just so funny that you have a whole makeup kit and it's literally just lip gloss and glitter, nothing else. Maybe an eyeshadow, a blue eyeshadow, but literally nothing else. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We are still rocking over on the Patreon, even though I am on vacation. So if you're looking for more content from me, you can check that out, patreon.com/RTBP podcast. And next week, I'll be back with more trending pop culture topics with some very, very fun guests. Okay, friends, without further ado, I feel like this is an RTBP first, another podcast, a little feed drop. But without further ado, here's my conversation with Emilie and Margaux from the Old Millennials.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back to Old Millennials, a deep dive on shallow topics of the 90s and 2000s. I am one of your hosts, Emilie Begin.
And I am your other host, Margaux Poupard.
Well, today is a very special day because we are welcoming a very special guest. Please welcome Torry from the Ready to Be Petty podcast. Yay!
Yay! Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Torry, we're so excited to have you on today. We're so happy to talk about 90s cosmetics.
I know. I feel like I lucked out in the topics.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's a real treat. And I'm not just talking about the Dr. Pepper flavored lip smacker. I think this is going to be a really fun topic. We've talked about doing this for a few seasons, so we're very happy to have you here today. I'll just give a quick overview of your podcast. And you, Torry, you are a young professional working in Victoria, BC. But in your spare time, you love to discuss reality TV, celeb gossip, pop culture, and stories that have happened in your life, all things petty after all. As I mentioned earlier, you are the host of Ready to Be Petty, which is this fantastic weekly podcast that goes into the latest gossip, stories going on in celeb and pop culture, with the caveat of having everyone discuss who is having the petty moment. And I'm so sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but the pettiest week. And
you're killing it.
And then having your guests go into what their personal moment of pettiness was for the week. We had a whole lot of fun being guests on your pod a few weeks back. So we're excited that you can join us today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Like I said.
So I think we can just kind of get started with a fun little... Oh God, I was about to call it an icebreaker, like we're in an orientation group at
How
work,
dare you?
Hey, I work at a university in student programming. Orientation just passed. I'm ready for this icebreaker. Couldn't be more ready.
Do you have two truths and a lie ready to go?
How did you know that was going to be my icebreaker as well?
Literally.
Those are always the most stressful. I feel like you either end up lying, having the most outrageous lie that's a dead ringer for a lie, or it's something super subtle where it's I have two cats. And the lie is, oh, JK, I have one cat. It's just stupid.
Yeah,
so
they all are
mundane.
so boring, or they're just so outrageous. You're like, all of them sound like lies, but mostly I don't know any of you well enough to be able to determine what's true and what's not.
And
Yeah.
in some cases, I don't want to know after knowing those two truths and a lie. So, but to go back to the icebreaker, when did you first buy a beauty product with your own money or allowance or something like that? And really, what were some top brands for you as you were kind of a preteen or teenager?
Yeah, I can remember this day so vividly just because I don't know, I guess it is like a pivotal part in a young girl's life, but I first started wearing makeup. I was allowed by my mom to wear makeup going into grade 8. So that was high school for me in Canada. So I must have been like 12 or 13. And I went to Walmart as
Of
as
course.
as a teen does with my two best friends, and I bought some CoverGirl like brown, not matte, definitely shiny, translucent eyeshadow and mascara and a brown pencil eyeliner and called it a day. But I gravitated towards all of the things that I saw in magazines like Teen People and stuff like that. Like it was CoverGirl, Maybelline. I was like, oh, L'Oreal's like expensive. And like I was going for like the Wet and Wild and stuff like that.
Of course.
Tori, you and I have like similar makeup journeys, except it wasn't going in. I could wear makeup for like special occasions, like for weddings or bar/bat mitzvahs growing up. But it wasn't until high school, like ninth grade, that I was allowed to wear makeup like every day, like everybody else. And this isn't necessarily makeup related because similar to Tori, I just like grabbed all the Wet and Wild stuff because they had like the coolest packaging. Although I will say their eyeliner is god awful. Like you're better off using a crayon.
You
Full
need a
stop.
lighter. You need a lighter to sharpen it.
Yeah, I was sharpening it with like my school pencil sharpener.
Same.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Not great. Yeah. And
I was
then
like, what's the difference?
nobody told me. Nobody sat there and like explained the difference to me. And to this day, I do swear by Great Lash mascara. I do think it is like the best mascara for your buck, like dollars to donuts, the best mascara that you could totally use. And so I had some of that and like just slathered so much concealer that was definitely not my skin tone. But what I really vividly remember is that I also was like using Teen Vogue and like Teen People and like whatever Cosmo Girl, whatever my mom had lying around, and was like, I'm going to tweeze my eyebrows for the first day of high school. And I'm, because I've got bangs, but I have like, I've always had like a thicker brow. I have thicker hair. It's curly. And I've always been doing everything I can to just put on all of the frizz-ease like that was in the Burbank area to like make my hair straight and shiny like an Olsen twin because that's who I desperately wanted to be. But I was like, I'm going to pluck my eyebrows and I'm going to, they say it's super easy. Just look at the picture and like look at yourself in the mirror. And nobody told me or nobody considered the fact that like I have zero artistic skill whatsoever. Like I can't draw, like I can't really, like I never really like cut straight. Like it's never really, there's always something quite a little off with me. So I'm looking at a picture of Britney Spears and I'm trying to like pluck my eyebrows like in the same shape as hers. I'm going along and like one looks halfway decent and the other one is like so short and thin. It like I would not call it an eyebrow. And then I just had to go to school the next day with my fucked up eyebrows. And I used a brown Wet n Wild. Maybe it was matte, maybe it was glossy. Unclear, don't remember because I was just like so traumatized by like what was about to happen to me in my eyebrows first day of school with just that shitty Crayola brown eyebrows. And it was just And this eyebrow never like looked right ever, like even as like a 34-year-old adult, like it still looks fucking weird. And so that is my trauma with makeup and like my first experience, which is why I go for like a natural look now, because partly lazy, but also, you know, I can't trust myself. I trust like other people, but just not me.
Yeah.
I definitely went down the Wet n Wild aisle or section of a pharmacy in my day, like buying those things. That eyeliner is absolutely terrible. The number of times I poked my eye out, like with eyeliner, or just like, I mean, the raccoon eyes for me, I have very watery eyes due to allergies. And so no eyeliner was a waterproof eyeliner when you, especially most of the time, if you're buying one from like the Wet n Wild section. It was, yeah, that. And you brought up the CoverGirl foundation concealer. So I remember CoverGirl had this, it was like a circular, like press foundation. And it was like this little, it was a thing that you used with your two fingers, and rather than it being liquid, it was like you press on the sponge or whatever, and it would give you some foundation. But you know, not having the ability to test any colors out at the pharmacy, and then on top of that, really wishing that this very pale, rosy skin would be just a bit tanner. We definitely went for a shade a bit too tan for myself, and I'm not saying I was wearing blackface, but like it was borderline offensive, the shade that I was wearing. Like it was just so never going to align with what my skin tone was going to ever be. It took me many years to accept the fact that I do not have a golden skin tone like my mom and sister. I am very much like my dad. It is pale, and when it is in the sun, it will turn into a lobster red. Like it takes a long time for someone, especially in a world of Laguna Beach, being very tan was very big in the mid 2000s. So that was a journey of acceptance that I went through.
All of the self-tan lotion that
Oh,
was
yes.
inescapable, just
Yes.
ruining people's furniture left, right, and center for years.
Yeah, I remember buying the Jergens Natural Glow. Nothing about it was natural. and buying the Hawaiian Tropic like SPF 4 tanning oil.
Yes,
And
cancer
just
in liquid form. Yes.
literally. And like I'm like you, Emily, like I'm very fair skinned. So that was absolutely insane that I thought that I could just, go so much darker that like now I wear so much SPF that it's like wild. And then, I don't use fake tanner anymore. I just embraced my natural skin tone. But I definitely, I don't think I had many concealer faux pas because I think like you two are right. The biggest kind of like faux pas I think are like eyebrows, too much concealer, too much eyeliner back in the day. I definitely did too much eyeliner, but I don't think I had good skin. And I don't feel bad saying that because I have awful skin now. I definitely fell into the adult acne phase, but like I had decent skin as a youth. So I didn't like put tons of like concealer on, but I was live and die by like this, like I can smell the Hawaiian Tropic was good, but the Jergens, like it was
Oh my God.
disgusting.
It was like chemicals. It smelled awful. It really had that that scent of like something that's been sitting in a warehouse for a really long time, and it's just like a kind of musty. It was just awful.
Terrible.
Oh my goodness. But I mean, you bring up a great point about like having like not acne prone skin as like a teenager. Like some of the worst products that caused the biggest breakouts were like Proactive, that deranged St. Eve peach walnut scrub.
Oh my
God.
God.
I was like, why is my skin so bad?
Yeah, it's like, oh, why is my face burning? And why does it feel like I lost a layer of skin?
Yeah,
because I exfoliated it off.
I'm so exfoliated. I'm like raw at this point.
It was truly a time in which we caved into the beauty. Like we were willing to suffer for the beauty product. And nowadays it is the beauty product that must cater to us. And it's like, I can't use this because I have sensitive skin or I am prone to dry skin. So I will, gravitate towards this moisturizer, what have you. There's very much, and it comes with age. Maybe it comes with like our society, but I feel like in adolescence, there's just this need, especially in the mid 2000s, to cave into, well, this product seems to work so well for everyone else. Therefore, it should work for me. Why is it not working for me? Do I need to sit and suffer?
I mean, case in point being like the wildly different outcomes that you could have from like a different face wash dependent on the person. And really what it is, as to your point, Emily, as you get older, you realize like if you have acne prone skin, you need a professional dermatologist. There's no amount of Proactive, Neutrogena, Noxzema in the world that's going to actually get it under control. It's a doctor's job now.
100%. Yeah. And like that wasn't even something that crossed my mind unless you had like severe acne and went on like Accutane or something,
which had its own set of problems. Like people that like develop like rubbery skin, like so. In some ways, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
and I think the Proactive breakout.
100%. I think Accutane was even banned in the States at some point.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So it's so wild that. Yeah, even if you had a bit of acne or dry skin, like you weren't considered, like you, at least in my sphere, you would never consider going to a derm. But nowadays it's like, oh, you have a tiny issue, like go see a derm, like right away.
Yeah. It's that shift. I mean, like, thank God all of us are willing to seek help in the right places when we need it.
Go get a professional facial, can afford to get a professional facial.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so we talked about a few products that, stand out to us, in terms of what our first journeys into the world of beauty as teenagers or preteens looked like. For you all, is there still a product outside of the ones we've, already mentioned that still stands out to you?
Well, you, Margaux, mentioned what's the green and pink mascara?
Great Lash, Maybelline Great Lash.
Yeah, like I feel like that is still recommended on as like a very the best bang for your buck. I think that's what you said, like a very inexpensive option. And it's funny, I actually don't use it now, but this like reminded me, like I'm just using like a random like drugstore like L'Oreal or whatever mascara, and I'm like, I should get a Great Lash. Like it's good.
It still makes, when I was working, and I think it's still true now, but when I was working in the beauty industry, every single year it would still be at the top of like Allure's beauty list and like a Glamour and a couple of other ones. And I was out of town or whatever. I was like in LA for a friend's wedding. I'd forgotten my mascara and I got a Great Lash and just like threw it in my bag after just to have it. It's still great. I mean, you should throw it away after 6 months, but like, nonetheless, somebody taught me, I will pass it along. If you didn't know, on the bottom of all of your makeup, if you lift the little instruction flap, there's like a little picture of like a makeup thing and it tells you how many months you can have it, because that also took me far too long to figure out.
Oh God,
the number of mascaras I just used a year out after buying, like as a teenager, it's just like, I'm surprised I can still see. I have glasses, but the fact that I still have some semblance of vision is a miracle.
I was going to say, that's the reason why you and I have glasses, isn't it?
Yeah, same here.
It's all expired drugstore mascara, baby. There's one product that I have been thinking about a lot since we started this, like kind of reading up for this episode. And I brought it up early on at the beginning, but like that Dr. Pepper lip smacker for me, up until its sudden death, as I found out through the article I shared, RIP, even as in my 20s, I would still buy this flavor because it like, if I could find it in a drugstore, it just like sparked up so much nostalgia that I loved it. Like I realized the smell is super artificial and all that, but for whatever reason, it was like the one of the few things I still from drugstore, middle school, high school makeup buying days that I still very much carried, other than the Maybelline Great Lash Mascara, which is great. Yeah, that scent is just pure nostalgia for me.
Yeah. Oh my God. I feel like my sisters and I, we definitely had one. I don't know who actually like had it, but like we would like fight over it. It was so like I feel like I can smell it now.
Mhm.
And yeah, when I read that article, I was thinking like, oh damn, I wish I went and bought one. I'm sure they'll do like some type of limited edition release, but I loved all of the lip smackers, like the root beer one and the bubblegum
God.
one. And
Mhm.
it was just, it was so fun. And yeah, if we talk about like my first beauty product outside of lip balm, it would be my trip before grade 8. But of course, I had lip smackers prior to that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they were prized like summer camp possessions that
Yes.
if you bought like the pack of them of like, those soda flavored ones or even like the ones that were like blueberry, strawberry, all those, you could trade people. So around camp, that was like currency.
Or if you're Hallie Parker, you can use them as collateral when you're playing poker.
Yeah, that and
Yes.
like scrunchies and those butterfly clips were all like on the table, like playing whenever things got competitive, like playing pogs or even just doing weird dares on like the long bus rides to amusement parks or whatever. These would be things that would be up for trade or betting. But in the lip range, I'm not sure if they still do it now because I kind of have like I don't really follow what MAC Cosmetics does as much anymore, but my mom was a huge MAC gal in the 90s, and their lip glass was definitely like
Oh,
a
yeah.
covetable item.
Yes.
Little did I know until I started using it, God, it really dries you out. But
It does.
It's
But
so
it's cracked.
sticky.
it's
Yes.
so sticky too. Don't
So
ever
sticky.
have it like burst in your bag because you are screwed. But I
Yeah,
remember that was
happened.
like a huge deal. Like if you just wanted like over the top, like very showy, like Angelina Jolie lips or whatever, that was like that was the product that you wanted to use. But also like even just like the MAC or like red lipstick or even like the ones that they would put out every year for money to raise money for AIDS Foundation was always like the lipstick that you had to have.
I
Yeah.
loved lip gloss. Oh my God. I had one explode. I actually literally had one explode in my back. I think it was like late high school I had one. That was like wow. Yeah, what a trip. We've talked a lot about like makeup beauty products. One thing that we haven't dived into yet are perfumes and scents from like 90s and 2000s. What are some scents for you all that you are just you can still like smell? Like if you were to smell it out in the wild, you would just have like a flash would come.
Yeah. Oh my God. The first one that comes to mind is Clinique Happy.
Oh my God.
Oh yes.
You could not walk through a mall without being misted
by that. I got a sample, but it wasn't like a tube. It was like a pretty big sample. And I remember I like wore that for like I tried to make that sample last for like a year
Of course.
because it was like perfume, whereas prior to that I had only been using like body mists because that's again I feel like very like kid. There's a Calgon one that I'm gonna look up. It's like Calgon like marshmallow or something. That might be, is that Canada only?
No, I feel this sounds very familiar. I'm looking it up too now.
Well, then that's got to be like an East Coasty thing because I don't recall.
It's like disgustingly sweet, but I think it's still sold today.
Wow.
But my sisters and I were obsessed with this. Like it was, again, you can get it $8 from Walmart and it would last you like 4 years because you weren't throwing that away.
Oh my God.
And you're using it sparingly.
Yes. Yeah.
There was like speaking of like scents like that were not not perfumes so much as mists. The high school girl lockers room at my high school was like a steady scent of like sweat and Victoria's Secret Love Spell. I don't know.
Thank you.
Oh, God,
No,
yeah.
Love Spell is the scent of middle school and high school. And then if you want a scent that's going to stop you dead in your tracks, for me, it is always going to be Ralph Lauren Romance. Like from it's got to be like 10th grade through like early college. That was not only like my scent, it was everybody's scent. And I like went on a few dates with a guy who wore the male version of it that smells kind of the same, but like like a little bit different. So it's a little bit weird to be like on a date with somebody that smells kind of like you. But like not too long ago, a couple of years ago, I was on BART and I swear I smelled the male version of Ralph Lauren Romance. And I was like, who's still spraying this? And where did you find it?
That's so
and
many.
Also, is Zach in here? Is that why? Like,
that's so
This
many.
is not the way you want to find out.
Literally like a scent memory. I've actually never heard of Ralph Lauren Romance. Ralph by Ralph Lauren.
yeah.
That turquoise bottle was, I think, my older sister's first perfume, and I think that was really popular. So I can still smell that one. And then we didn't have Victoria's Secret for a really long time, and then it only came to like Toronto and Vancouver probably in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So we didn't have tons of the Victoria's Secret sprays, but we definitely used a lot of the Bath and Body Works ones.
Oh. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Another mall hit.
Yeah.
I'd love to know for each of you, what was your Bath and Body Works scent that you gravitated towards in the lotion, spray, what have you departments?
Okay, literally, I always picked Twilight Woods, and it wasn't even because I liked the smell. It's just because it said Twilight, and I was really into Twilight. That was the only reason. Like, it was pretty like woodsy and musky and like where I'm like more like light and floral. But I was like, well, I have to have it because it's like Twilight Woods. Like, duh, that's the reasoning.
What was the like sour apple one was like my scent and lotion. I do not know why. I think I got it gifted and I was like, this is me now. And that's just kind of what I used for like a couple of years. Then there was like a short-lived time where maybe I'm misremembering this, but in the Beverly Center, it was either Bath and Body Works or like a competitor where you could like make your own essence, but it was all like these terrible scents, like your musky Twilight Wood or your weird green apple or your like strawberry mango salsa. And so I definitely was like very into that for like a hot second, but mostly because you're like, ooh, I'm a chemist. I like make my own scent.
Look at you, Madame Curie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like fancy.
Yeah, and I think it was expensive, which explains why I only did it exactly one time.
Yeah.
I was very into there was sun-kissed raspberry was a flavor or scent that I really liked. And then my sister was very into a cucumber melon. Which, she did not use sparingly, she used excessively. And so I got sick of cucumber melon. And for a very long time, if I smelled it out in the wild, it would just like adverse nauseous reaction.
Yeah, I think I had one of the cucumber melon like hand sanitizers, and it just like you don't need your hand sanitizer to have that scent or any scent. Like it's disgusting.
It was like the ones with like the little granules in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moisture beads.
Yes, which aren't those really bad for you? For them, not for us specifically.
For the environment, like microplastics, etc.
Yeah. God, but yeah, I was slathering that stuff on.
Oh yeah.
So earlier, Torry, you brought up the fact that, you were in Canada, so you had some very different products. Are there any products that were very strictly Canadian? And like when you hear about like US nostalgia, you don't ever really hear about them. And then in return, besides, I know Victoria's Secret showed up kind of in the early 2000s. Were there any other brands that you heard of in the States that really like resonated with you, but you weren't able to buy until later?
Yes. Okay. So didn't have Victoria's Secret. Sephora didn't come to Canada until I think it was 2004. But again, it just came to like Vancouver and Toronto. So if you didn't live in like a major metropolitan city, you wouldn't get those things. And like online shopping wasn't popular. I don't even know if they would ship internationally. So I think we were left in the dark about a lot of things. Mac is a Canadian brand. So I feel like Mac had a big like it was just really popular before it spread worldwide. Does the US have Avon?
Yes.
Okay. So Avon was also a very 90s 2000s thing that me and all of my friends would do. It's like your mom knew an Avon rep. You would get a tiny little catalog. You would pick the products and then order them. Half of them were nothing like what you like ordered, but that was very much a part of my life. But yeah, I don't think there was anything like specific that was Canadian. I just remember us missing out on a lot of stuff. For example, I went down to Seattle when I was in high school and I really wanted the Jessica Simpson Fancy perfume.
Oh.
Which actually smells so gross. Like, I don't know why I liked any of that, but I wanted it so bad. I think I only had $100 to spend on my shopping trip, and it was $80. So I was like, oh my God, like I either like I don't get it or I just buy this one thing and I get like no clothes or anything because this was a back to school trip. And I had a meltdown, didn't end up buying it, bought other stuff, but would like regretted it. So went to school, must have forgot about it. Christmas comes along and our American relatives come up to visit and they brought me the fancy perfume for Christmas.
Aww.
And it was like it was so nice. But yeah, we just didn't get so many of those like bigger products that the States have, I think.
Well, speaking of Jessica Simpson, did you guys get her dessert body lotion line?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, then, you got the main event.
Yeah. And I still wonder, I was given it as a gift. So I wonder if it was, again, from a American friend or relative. But that was, when I think of the worst beauty products of that time, like it has to be those because I got like those like big like pom-pom like that you dab on your
the powder.
Yes,
the sparkly, like it's a giant poof.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like literally just sparkles.
Yes.
And you literally just powder your face with sparkles, which is like you would never do nowadays. I had one of those and then I had her cream and it just smelled so disgusting. Like I don't even think I liked it then. It was that bad.
Yeah, a friend of mine and I were like, we knew it was gross, but we couldn't help ourselves. And we just like sampled like all of the products that she had to offer and like made ourselves fucking ill in a Sephora. Sampling all of like, I remember she had like a whipped lotion or something that was like a chocolate. And that was maybe the halfway most decent one. But yeah, I also, they were disgusting products, but they were a little bit ahead of their time now that they're doing like, oh, here's a nail polish that smells like Velveeta cheese. Like, she was a little bit ahead there, but I mean, still isn't, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
This is very true. Because I had a sister who's only 2 years younger than me, we shared a lot of stuff. So if I didn't get something, she would maybe get it. And I think we had 1 or 2 Jessica Simpson products between the two of us, like a lotion and maybe a lip gloss. And I did definitely try to eat the lip gloss once because that was the like novelty of her products was like, oh, you can wear them as makeup or on your face or body, but then you can eat them. But she literally, I mean, one, it's disgusting and I felt terrible after. But two, she even got sick on the set of one of her campaigns. If you watch the show Newlyweds.
Yes, and that's how it was marketed to me.
Exactly. Yeah, that was like what they wanted you to do, despite the fact that it made everyone ill in its wake. I don't know what kind of PR strategy that is.
I just was like, oh my God, Nick was so sweet to her in this episode, like caring for her when she was sick. And then she was wearing that pink corset and she had like pink cupcakes and like her hair was so beautiful. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is truly it. So I had to, it was coveted.
Mm-hmm.
There is one final thing that I wanted to bring up because we were talking scents. I had so when I was, I think, in middle school, my parents had to travel a lot for work internationally at that point, and my mom in duty free as a Christmas present got me like a small thing of Tommy Girl, which was like, oh, this is it. This is the big leagues, baby. Like I was just so excited. So I think like that smell would just like, if someone out there's bringing back Tommy Girl, which I'm sure someone in Gen Z is going to do it. Like it's not an if, it's a when. I will forever salute you, but I cannot participate because it's just such a like stuck in the 90s scent. And then the final thing was that my cousin recently texted me and told me that she was trying to start wearing Obsession again, like the Calvin Klein fake fragrance. My cousin's 49, so she's very Gen X, and she's in Toronto, and I was just like, I smelled it recently at a like department store, and I was like, yeah, this is a scent. It works for her, but it does not work for everyone.
Yes, yeah. It's funny how those like kind of mid-tier, like it mid-tier but designer, like the Tommy's, Ralph Lauren, etc., did so well in the perfume world.
Yes.
So weird.
Emily and I have had discussions about this before of just like there must be a ton of money in perfumes and scents because we get these elaborate multi versions of like celeb perfumes. And then not to mention that every designer, no matter how involved they are in like the production of it, like Marc Jacobs, everybody has some sort of scent. And at one point or another, they had sold so much of it that it was so profitable that they just kept kind of doing it. And I'm just curious to see a breakdown of those numbers. But like when you think about like Britney's empire of a majority of it comes from fantasy, which I like don't know a single human being who bought that scent or wears it. It's crazy to me, but God bless perfumes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Doing great, holding up the beauty industry and taking up shelf space at Sephora.
Mm-hmm.
One final question that I have, and we just can keep going into discussion after this, but if you could bring back, we talked about a whole bunch of products, but if there is one product that has been discontinued that you could bring back, what would that product be?
Well, we talked about the Dr. Pepper lip smacker.
Sure,
like I think that's like a shoo-in for sure. I actually wrote, I don't actually remember the brand, but the nail polish that was clear but had chunky sparkles in it?
Maybe.
See if I can find a picture and send it to you folks. But it was just like really fun nail polish that was literally clear with really big sparkles. And I thought it was so fun. Like this streetwear is the brand for sure.
Oh, okay.
It's a Revlon. Revlon brand, like a line, I guess, from Revlon.
Oh, because it's like one of those things where like once the trend catches on, I remember Hello Kitty had a version of that where it was just like little Hello Kitty characters with the sparkly chunks. But it's got to stem from somewhere. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I
Yep.
remember wearing this nail polish for New
It's
Year's
number
many
one.
times.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just so fun and it just looks so 90s. And that style is coming back, so maybe we will see this, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's just not complicated or anything like that. It's just a good nail polish color.
Oh my god, and then putting it over, like, a darker color, that's unlocking some
Mhm.
memories here as well.
I love it.
Oh my God. I absolutely love this. Margaux, are there any products for you that you would like to resurrect?
Hair tinsel?
Oh my God.
Oh, yes.
A lot of the products, like, that I liked are still kind of exist, but that's kind of the one, like, I know that, like, Manic Panic is, like, still a thing, but hair tinsel, as somebody who used to do dance competitions, those were huge, and, I know they're probably not good for the environment, but I miss that, and I'm sure this also hasn't gone away, but maybe it needs, like, a rebrand, to make it fun and flirty again, but I'd love, like, a good herbal essence campaign like they used to do them, I guess all of
Oh,
my stuff is hair
yes.
products, but because it could not live without, like, and it was always the most expensive shampoo, and I couldn't tell you one thing it did different from anything else in a different drugstore, but, like, harangued my mom because, like, I needed to have it because, like, the rose peach scent or whatever, like, the pink scent was just,
Rose
you
hip.
thank you.
Oh my
It was like it was
God.
the scent to have.
Yes.
So,
I
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was a chamomile girl myself. Which was, yeah, it's because of, I think I associated chamomile blonde, like, I don't know. For me, there's kind of two things. One, John Frieda Beach Waves. There was this sea salt spray.
oh, I remember it well because then I switched over to Bumble and Bumble's sea spray, which is kind of the same, but, like, more heavy-handed. That was, like, the perfect formula.
Uh, it was, that smell, it's just summer in a bottle, but like a healthy summer in a bottle, unlike the tanning oil. Like,
Yeah.
and similar to what you brought up earlier, Margaux, so you brought up hair tinsel. I was going to bring up, like, hair mascara was a very big thing for a while,
Yes.
which I had a
They're
bright,
cousins,
they're cousins.
Yeah.
I had a bright green one, and I think this was an extra special tube because I think mine was was it from a drugstore or Claire's, something like that. But I loved it. It was my first foray into, like, having my hair in another color that was, like, not found in nature. So that was very exciting, especially for me, who I went to Catholic school pretty much most of my life up until college. And so had a strict dress code, couldn't do very much. Like, makeup for me, I wasn't even allowed to really wear until high school, not because my parents would. I think my parents would have been fine with it, like maybe starting in 8th grade, but it was really more than anything because of our school policies. So having things like hair mascara where it was washable was, like, just such a treat to feel like a little bit of a rebel just for, one shining moment. Are there any things that you all feel like we have not covered today? I'd love to know if there are any products we want to chat about, any fragrances that deserve an honorable mention. Would love to hear.
I think one of the things that we haven't talked about, but Venus razors. Like, okay, I could obviously sing the song, like, I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, your desire, whatever that song was. But, like, I think I started shaving my legs and my armpits in 5th or 6th grade, which seems so early.
I was not allowed to.
Yeah, I was like, there was literally no need for me to do that. But I was definitely in elementary school. And I bought my first, or my parents, whatever, bought my first Venus razor, and those commercials were just everywhere. Everywhere. Those, like, skinny little white legs, like, doing, like, a synchronized dance in the air. Like, it was, I don't know. It was like you're an adult if you shave your legs with your Venus razor.
I mean, to that end, I would also say Nair was a big one.
Oh, God.
I remember it was a huge deal when my friend's mom like was like she like caved after we were just bothering her for an afternoon. She's like, I'll do like a strip of nair like on the back of your leg to like show you what it's all about. And just it being like this profound like, oh, we're adults now, like we are
Yes.
women, we use nair. And then I remember when I went to go buy it for myself at some point in middle school and I was allowed to, having to like my mom had to explain to me the difference because the packaging was similar and for whatever reason they were like in the same aisle, but like the difference between Summer's Eve and Nair, like don't just grab whatever pink and white box without like actually taking the time to read the label because you will be severely disappointed.
I'm glad you brought up Nair, Margaux. So I was in a household in which my parents kind of avoided me shaving for a while. I think I did it for the first time, maybe, I don't know, sixth or seventh grade. But more than anything, once I was of the age where I'd want to like get hair, remove hair from my legs. My mom was a Nair person. She either did Nair or she waxed. She did not like razors. She thought it grew back thicker, all that kind of thing. And so she brought me some Nair to use, and it gave my skin like so much of a rash. Like it just did not work with my skin. And so I was like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, this is not going to happen. You're going to have to cave and like, let me shave because like can't do this. And waxing is very painful.
Oh God. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my foray into shaving legs. And then I feel like my sister kind of, because I paved the way, if you will, was able to get a razor when she needed to shave her legs. But Venus, the Venus campaigns are still forever seared in my memory. Whoever wrote the song Venus, I think it's originally by a band from the 60s, made quite a bit of money thanks to the Gillette company. Any other final products that we need to talk about?
I don't know if it was necessarily a product, and I don't know if you guys participated in the same cultural appropriation that I did, but bindies were like a huge thing for a couple of years because of Gwen Stefani, like her, and this is like elementary school or whatever. So like on the weekends, especially if it was a weekend with my dad, we'd go to the Venice Boardwalk and my friend Cass and I would find, like, we'd shop for bindies and they were like extremely cheap because Hare Krishnas hang out down there all the time. And so they sell them. And also had to have what weed was explained to me because they have their like little stoner drum circle every Saturday and Sunday for hours on end. But anyway, we both got bindies and like that was like a huge, also like maybe like first steps into like beauty products because we really wanted to look like Gwen Stefani super bad. And that was like the closest way without actually doing makeup or being able to like wear lipstick. Although I'm sure when someone's back was turned, we also added like a red lip or whatever to get closer to the look.
I'm glad you brought up bindies, Margaux, because so for context, Corey, my mom works in like international law. So growing up, we had a lot of friends whose parents worked in that field as well. So they traveled a lot for work. And we had a family friend who the dad worked in India, and they even the family lived in India for a while, and they came back with bindies, and we were like, I think it was like 8 or 9 years old, or maybe 10 even, and like I too, like you, Margaux, wore the shit out of these bindies. Yes, very much cultural appropriation there, but boy, did I feel like a rock star at like 9 or 10 as I'm wearing these.
My bindi and my press-on nails from the drugstore, and I was ready to party.
Yeah,
my party, I mean, like watch a movie, probably a note you did last summer or something.
Yeah, I miss that because I think I'm a few years younger than you guys, so I feel like I missed that. The Gwen Stefani, like the No Doubt era, I feel like was like just before me, but I definitely remember her wearing bindies, and even Selena Gomez as late as like 2000 and like I want to say like 16 was wearing a bindi. So yeah, some things never change.
Yeah, I mean, people were still wearing like Native American or Native headdresses to Coachella up until like 2 years ago. So
yeah.
progress is slow.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, there's definitely lots of other things when I think of cultural appropriation and intro to beauty, like cornrows, like going to
Oh yeah.
Mexico and getting your hair done in cornrows, or singing the bindi. Was there anything else I was thinking of? We talked about the tanner.
Yeah. Oh, my cousin got Bo Derek braids, and
Oh,
when she
yeah.
came to visit,
Yeah.
and as a white French girl who doesn't speak English, because it was just, and she wanted like the bead, she wanted like the whole nine, and she got like extensions, and it was like this whole thing, and my mom had to like take her to a very specific beauty shop where she was the only white girl there. And it wasn't obviously until like years later that I realized what she did was cultural appropriation, and she should have been stopped. But you live, you learn. And you get bad braids, and you hope no one remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely again, because my mom traveled to a few like different countries and would bring back like an accessory or something for us to wear that I probably as a child should not have been wearing given what it was. But I am glad we have now had some good discourse on cultural appropriation, what that means, and why it's important to not wear these types of things if that is not a part of your culture.
And you know what's never going to be a part of our culture again? Crimped hair. Please don't bring that back.
Oh God.
God.
I like
in looking through some of these articles, they, Hot Tools came up a couple of times, and they're like, oh yeah, and like the crimper attachment, and I immediately had like a Nom flashback where I was like, oh no. Like I remember the different, and like I know I talked about hair straighteners on your podcast story.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we've already talked about this, but like I could do more.
Like, how much time do we have? It was like it was just the attachments, and I remembered the attachment one and how like it would melt or become disfigured and couldn't pop back in the slot at a certain point just because you overused it so many times.
Yeah, when you're like, oh, the hair straightener's not going to cut it. Can you just iron my hair?
Oh my God. Yeah. My mom's like, that's how we used to straighten my hair when I was younger. I was like, that seems bad. I'll get the straightener.
Your hair is not supposed to be a shirt or a grilled cheese. Like you should.
I know, like it's so ridiculous how like I didn't bat an eye at like all of this stuff, but
oh my God.
Yeah.
There were so many hair tools at that time because there was obviously Hot Tools, the crimper, the straightener. There was also like Conair or like one of those brands sold a tool that would like braid your hair. Like it would twist. You would put a strand in each little thing and then it would snap down, press the button, but like it never worked. And it would just end up pulling your hair. Like I think I had a friend who had one. And it's just, there were so many things that were just borderline, if not quite death traps, like at least a high risk of losing all your hair in the process.
Version 1 of a death trap. It feels like that feels very like Floby vibes, like a vacuum that's going to cut your hair like through suction or whatever. Like there's just something not quite right about the whole setup.
Yeah, I definitely saw those and I was like, I'm never doing that. Or like where the ones that would, they like twisted it or braided it, or the ones that wrapped your hair in like string. People who are not from our like age group are gonna be like, what the fuck?
What were you guys doing to your hair?
Yeah, there was machines that would wrap a strand of hair in yarn or whatever, like. But I never dabbled in that. I just like, I think I just knew. I was like, that's not for me.
Everyone who's like really on the train of bringing back the 90s, I'm like, you're bringing back like the greatest hits of the 90s. But if you really want to bring the 90s back, if you want to live that experience, you need to suffer. All right. In early 2000s, there are some rites of passages that come. You don't just get the free ticket and the free ride here. You gotta pay the price that comes with living this out in this journey.
Yeah.
I feel like I lost some hair along the way, like, didn't we all though? I'm sure everyone.
My eyebrow, Emily.
I think that's probably where I'm the most jealous. Speaking of brows, my sister, I plucked the shit out of my brows. My sister did it even more so, like sperm brows all the way for quite a while. she miraculously, hers have grown back, and she already had great thick eyebrows in comparison to me. And so now as an adult, she has just gorgeous eyebrows. Meanwhile, I have like permanent, like sparse areas that just never quite grew back after the casualties that, took place in 2001. And it's unfortunate how much money I spend on crayons and pencils to make it, look a little better.
Yeah, I actually never had a tweezer incident. My sisters definitely did. I think I just had really naturally thin eyebrows. And it's so funny because like I have mine now microbladed.
Oh,
So like I think I just had sparse enough eyebrows that I didn't really overpluck them. But I definitely used to put this was really fancy because on one of those back to school shopping trips to the States, we went to Anastasia, Beverly Hills, at Nordstrom in Seattle, because my mom had saw us seen Anastasia on, I think, Oprah, because we would watch Oprah every day from 4 to 5 p.m. after school. And we got my sisters and I all got a brow powder and a tracer. So I would literally put a full tracer on my eyebrow and just fill it in with powder and call it a day. But it's so funny because I must have been like 13, 14, 15, 16. And I remember I went out drinking. I was a young drinker, and because there's no such thing as setting spray or primer or anything like that. And I woke up the next day hungover, and my friend's like, "What is this like dirt patch on your forehead?" And it was my eyebrow. They just had migrated up to my hairline, and it was just like it was just brown eyeshadow that looked like dirt on my forehead. And I was like, I literally partied my eyebrows off. Like,
oh my God.
it was so bad. But like there was nothing to set it with or anything. But yeah, I just like put the stencil on and would fill it in, and sometimes one would be higher than lower than the other, but you just rolled with it. Oh my God.
That's fantastic. A fun fact about Anastasia that I recently learned was the actual Anastasia, is Sebastian Stan's godmother, like the actor.
Weird.
Very weird.
That is super, super weird. Yeah, she has done really well for herself. Yeah, and I think her kickoff was Oprah, truly. But yeah, that was like the fanciest. We thought we were so cool.
Before we, I feel like that is just like, laughing our eyebrows off here, or parting our eyebrows off is a great way to kind of end our episode for today. But before we end, I'd love to hear if anyone has any final parting words, any advice to those youngins who are trying to bring back some of those 90s, 2000s trends.
I think like the final thoughts that I have when I was, reading through the articles we read and going through my mind catalog of everything I've done beauty-wise, was just how like fun and colorful and not serious it was. And I feel like beauty nowadays is so neutral and serious, and like you do have to have, it perfectly blended and the perfect skin tone and like everything like that. I guess we're like, that might have like come around 2016, and we're kind of moving out of that and going for more natural looks. But like, I just forgot how fun and colorful it was. And if I do foray back into this kind of makeup style, or if anyone else does, I think like that's the thing that I want to remember is and to emulate is like the fun colors, the like kind of not giving an F, and just trying a lot of stuff and not having it perfect.
Yeah, I think it's like the the amount of like makeup tutorials and like accessibility and like you don't have an excuse to like be bad at makeup anymore, although
Yes.
I shall be perishing on this hill because I'm not that good at it and I don't know if I ever need to be. But I think there's like such a wealth of information that never used to be there, that like the pressure to go out and like have your best face on, even if it's not something that you're super into, just knowing that other people's makeup will look better and you want to be better at contouring and I think that's great. But I definitely agree, Torry. Like I would love to see a little bit more like fun and playfulness. And I will give props to Euphoria's makeup team because I think that they really have at least like opened it up for people to do experiment with color and like do stuff that's out there, even if it's like a Tuesday and like you don't need an excuse, and to like, I don't know, loosen up about the whole thing. And I know that the makeup artist also has a line out that's like a vegan clean makeup, but it's like very bright, like super fun colors. And it kind of almost makes me want to, I don't know, experiment with something wacky and see where it goes. Because like you said, shouldn't take it so seriously. It's just makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Margaux, I'm going to show up to our next hangout with some bright green eyeliner.
Yes.
Love it.
I probably will. I got, did I tell you for like the open house or the housewarming party, I got this like new eye makeup that's like from Glossier, and it like comes in this tube, and it's like a thicker like top to the tube, and I couldn't get it open. It was like a hot day and I was starting to get really frustrated, and I was like, if I have to look at a TikTok to show me how to open this, I'm gonna scream. I'm not that old. And then when I Googled it, everyone's like, yeah, the thing's just like super hard to open. Like think of it like a jar, like get a towel and try to open. I was like, I will not let this undo me. This will not be my barrier to entry. I will have fun with a sparkly lilac eyelid.
Yes. Oh my God. I know that. I know what you're talking about. And I love that.
Yes. Once you finally get it open, it's like a really nice color. I think I will go back for some more. I do like their like liquidy eyeshadow stuff because sometimes the powder will kind of like your eyebrow story will like kind of it goes up.
Yeah, it moves up. It goes up for me. It goes down and it goes up. I might buy some. We'll be twinsies. Well, thank you so much for joining us once again, Torry. Before we end for today, do you have anything you'd like to plug? Any upcoming projects you're working on, or anything surrounding your podcast?
Oh, thank you. Just released an episode today about celeb astrologies. I had an astrologer come on and do some tarot readings of like Britney Spears, Rihanna, Anne Hathaway, Taylor Swift, and Kim Kardashian.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, super fun and just like chill. Even if you're not a believer, it's just kind of fun to, look at the charts and get a reading. And then, yeah, otherwise we're just talking about pop culture news, celeb gossip, reality TV. You can find Ready to Be Petty on all podcast platforms and my socials. My handle is at RTBP Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, everyone, once again, for joining us for an episode of Old Millennials. As you know, we have a Patreon, or maybe you don't, but we have a Patreon. And for $5 a month, you can join our Old Millennials cinematic universe. That gets you 2 pieces of content a month. Usually, Margaux and I are watching the latest and greatest Netflix or Hulu docuseries or other cool shows on TV. We'll give you the rundown of what we think. We will, in the next couple weeks, be releasing an episode after we have seen Don't Worry, Darling. So we'll have lots to talk about. So check us out at Old Millennials Pod when you go to Patreon. Additionally, you can find us on social media. We are at the Old Millennials Pod on Instagram and on Facebook. And then individually, you can find us on Twitter. I am at Emilie Begin.
And I'm at Marg, she wrote.
And until next time, we say bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Torry.
Thank you. And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Emilie and Margaux for having me on their podcast today. If you like this, tell me if I should do more. Like, I guest on so many podcasts, could definitely ask the hosts if I can do a little bit of a feed swap. That's what we call it in the business. So let me know if you like it. But if you want to follow along about what I'm doing on vacation, or, you know, again, my comments on pop culture currently, follow me at RTBP Podcast and check out my Patreon, patreon.com/RTBP Podcast. Okay, friends, I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Torry, and I'm ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.